So now looking at particular areas and scenarios around site and terminals. So we have flanges, CUI of course, scab repairs and coating defects. It is also worth mentioning the tape did win a French Innovation of the Year award back in 2017. So starting with flanges, very problematic, difficult geometries, difficult configurations, from fixed to kind of gate valves, the nuts and the bolts, etc. I've actually ran a campaign where we've purely focused on flanges, and I've seen coating breakdown after about 3 months, and this was using a very skilled crew and a 3-layer epoxy system. It's just the nut and the bolt, especially when you blast in SA2.5, it just simply doesn't have enough key to provide long-term protection. So what we look at is, in terms of flange application, we will address the nuts and the bolts and any kind of loose crumb corrosion. We can use an alkaline wash, alkaline rinse, or we can use in a combination with a rust remover or rust converter, if you like, to dress the kind of area. And yeah, that would then prep the area ready for the SIF tape application. So just a few examples of flanges both on and offshore, different configurations. I'll just pull up the pointer here so you can see the corrosion coupon left exposed, sitting in the environment, and then the protected one still spotless underneath. The flanges, they do take a little bit more skill and experience in terms of the application, of course, compared to say a straight line pipe, but still fairly easy to apply out in the field. A question I'm quite typically asked is, commonly asked is, in encapsulation, what if there's a gas leak or a release? So you can just put a score in, let's say, the 6 o'clock position. That would allow for any gas or H2S release to be picked up on the gas monitor. So it's not a problem. And yeah, this should give you an ease of application and full kind of encapsulation, because the chemical properties will then protect all the difficult kind of geometries in commonly found flanges. So moving on to CUI and scab repairs, and give you kind of some examples of how this looks. We worked with a couple of clients in Central Europe, a terminal and a refinery located right next to the sea, the North Sea, so quite extreme environment. It's also worth noting there was a huge salt mountain just beside these trials, so yeah, the chloride level was fairly high. So what we done is, for this particular client, we worked with their inspection team. So we took some NDT areas, as you can kind of make out here. So we scraped back a few areas. You can just kind of make that out here, and there was a few others around the pipe as well. So we, as I mentioned, we scraped back to bare metal. We took the NDT readings of the pipe thickness, and then we just wrapped some areas, straights, bends, etc., different locations, in a kind of protected versus not protected scenario. The lines were operating at around about 110 degrees Celsius, so fairly at the higher end, the CUI. They were indeed actually CUI lines, but the coating or the insulation had been removed. What I like about this is, not only can you see, this was 14 month, not only can you see it's spotless, but even where the tape had been, you can see the difference between the protected versus not, and that was obviously the exposed scrape back area, exposed to the atmospheric environment. So again, these examples are coming from Central Europe. As I mentioned, coastal, so it's as coastal as it can get. And as I mentioned previously, so the removal of the tape So this coupon that you can see that I'm pointing at now, yeah, this was left under the tape. I think this trial was about 7 months in terms of longevity, and I just scored back this tape, and as you can see, the coupon is absolutely spotless. In terms of trials go, I don't think it gets any better, and this is the one that we just left sitting out in the environment. Again, coastal location here, so different line, coupon placed underneath the tape, corrosion coupon, line itself wrapped, and hopefully you can just make that out. The coupon was, the control coupon was just sitting here. This coupon is all but spotless again upon removal, and this one actually started crumbling my hand when we went to take it off. So yeah, just another example where the SIF tape, in terms of proving its effectiveness, has done a really great job. Yeah, so just to kind of close it out, so we have some examples where on an FPSO, some flange remediation work. I kind of covered the inspection and yeah, how I see it being used in an easy manner for let's say scab repairs or remedial repairs. Of course, if you look at, let's say, a conventional scope, there's a lot of hassle, cost, control involved in, let's say, blasting setup, painting setup, and I'm not saying the tape is there for replacing everything. However, in my experience, it's definitely got its uses around sites, terminals, both on and offshore. It's just so easy, and yeah, I think eliminating the ball cert or blasting live line cert, the ST2, yeah, and just ease in terms of campaign. So if you are experienced, let's say, high level work, you can essentially send the rope access guy up, do an on the spot kind of repair and fix. It's going to give you longevity for 5 to 10 years without any problem, and yeah, you can just move on to the next area. So yeah, from my side, I certainly see the tape playing a big part in fabric maintenance related projects. Yeah, so finally, just covering the ISO 19277 test, which is the multi-phase CUI corrosion test 3. As I mentioned, it was slightly modified. It had to be because it's predominantly aimed at a conventional coating. However, we did keep to the main kind of criteria. We worked with KEFR and we agreed to try and push the tape up to the higher limits of 175 degrees. The tape itself has a really good temperature range, so we're looking at minus 45 up to about 220, 230 degrees. But what we try to achieve with this and pushing it to the 175, and as I mentioned previously, the bulk of the CUI kind of problems is around about up to 85, 90 degrees, but we just wanted to push it that bit further to ensure that the tape could cope under the extremes. So as you can make out from the picture itself, so we had to get the cylindrical kind of approach for the tape itself. What we've done is just applied a coating on the ends and then just blasted the middle section, just to kind of give us a kind of coated section and an uncoated section. The test was run for, I think it was about 15 cycles in total for a 6-week period, and it was basically taken up to the hot 175 degrees and then letting it cool down over the weekends, just to kind of an ambient. At the end of the test, there was no defects found in the tape itself, and yeah, it was certainly from my side, because you don't know with these things how they're going to go. I was very pleased to see the results of an almost perfect test. So yeah, I think that kind of concludes the session. I hope you found it interesting. I hope you definitely see the need for some areas around site where the tape can be useful, and certainly I think CUI or or scab repairs, remedial repairs, etc. Flanges, yeah, it's definitely got its uses.